So I must admit, I'm slightly nervous because I don't speak Portuguese. I met Leticia and Simone 3 days ago at a hostel where we're all staying. And they said, would you like to speak at TEDx? And I was like, absolutely, but you know, I don't speak Portuguese. And Simone goes, no, you speak in English. And I'm like, okay, so will there be translation? Simone goes, maybe. I'm like, okay, so will people understand me? And Simone says, maybe. And then she gives me a huge smile and she says, but I'm sure you'll be great. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to talk slowly and hope for the best and that it'll all be great. George actually has very kindly offered to summarize what I'm talking about after I finish talking. But I'm really sorry, and I hope you're patient with me. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is very closely linked to what I do in India. And it's about the power of ordinary people like you and me to make change happen. I'm going to start with the story of this young man from India. He's called Ashok. His name is Ashok. And he was 20 years old, and he comes from a community, a slum community. I think a slum is called favela here. So he comes from a favela community, which is made up of fishermen. And the kids in that community drop out at very early age out of schools. And they get into bad company, they start taking drugs, and usually their parents get them married off early. And so they end up not educated, they end up living in the same poor environment, and they end up in the same vicious cycle. And Ashok comes from that community, and he saw his brothers, his cousins, his friends go through this whole cycle of dropping out of school, and basically it's downhill from there. Luckily for him, he was working with an NGO that uses sports, that uses football to engage children. So they use football to get children to play in school, to continue studying, to build leadership and life skills. And he was one of the kids that worked with the NGO. And what he realized was that he was very different from the other kids in his community because of this, the methodology that he was using from the NGO. So he thought, okay, so if this working with a nonprofit has actually helped me, what if I can take this back to the kids in my community? And so he went to the NGO and said, you know what? Your work has made an amazing change in my life. I would like to take this back to the kids in my community. And the NGO did not have the money to start work in his community. So what the boy did, and I love him for this, he was 20 years old, remember, he worked in the NGO during the day and did the same programs in his community in the evening. The program started with 10 children. It went up to 30 children. It went up to 50 children. Soon he had to quit his job, which he was doing, and go full-time into this NGO, which he started, which is called Oscar. And I'll fast forward the story. Today he's 23 years old. He runs Oscar full-time. He has got 150 kids that he works with in his community. He trains other NGOs to run similar programs, which reaches out to 2,000 more children. He's got many awards. He's now recognized as a young leader in India, and he's become a role model in his community. And this is his journey in 3 years, and he's 23. It's amazing. Every time I tell this story to people, people usually say, oh, it's inspiring, he's amazing, but he's one of a kind. He's different. You get one of these in thousands. Not everyone can be like him, right? Now, through my work, which I do in India, I know hundreds of such stories. People come from different backgrounds, different religions, men, women, educated, non-educated, so many of them around the world that actually have done the same thing as Ashok has. And that's one of the things that caught my attention as to why are we so quick to putting these people on a pedestal and saying, you are doing great, but we can't be like you. You're a star, right? And so I think of, what is it that makes a star? What is the star person that we keep talking about? Who is a star, right? So if you break down a person who's called a star, I see 4 qualities. One is they have a big idea, a dream that they can't let go of. Second, they're very passionate about that dream, that idea, so they will not stop pursuing that. The third is they have the courage and the persistence to pursue that dream, to make that happen. And the fourth, very importantly, they're open to failing. They're not expecting to be successful. They're open to be failing, right? So now here's the thing. All of us have these qualities. All of us have had a dream at some point of doing something. All of us have showed courage at some point or the other. All of us have failed at some point or the other. So what is it? So literally, we can all be stars, right? So what is it that makes us different? What is it that stops us from being stars? And I think the only thing that stops us from being stars is absolute and complete belief in our potential, in who we are, in what we can do. All of us are surrounded every day by people, places, conversations that can actually act as trigger points, right? And I think the only thing that stops us is the fact that we don't believe enough in ourselves, in our potential. So the one thing that I will leave, and I won't talk a lot because I'm getting a lot of blank faces in the audience, but the one thing that I want to leave you today, if nothing else, is that if you have an idea or a dream that keeps you up at night, right? That makes you come alive. Like when Augusto was talking, I didn't understand a lot of what you were saying, but your eyes were shining. And I was like, this boy loves what he's doing. So if you have an idea or a dream that makes you come alive, that makes your eyes shine up, then the time to start chasing it is today, is now. Not when you have the money, not when you have the right job, not when you have a family to provide for, you know, all those things we have excuses. When I become 60, when I have a house in Hawaii, da-da-da. Not that. The time to start is right now. And I will bet all my life savings and all my life's work, if you take that first step of believing in yourself, things will happen. And you will be amazed to find that a star is within you, that there is a star waiting within you. Thank you. That's all I've got.